welcome to Storyboard. I'm Shibani Gharat. India could, within a decade, become the biggest market for Glenmorangie, says Caspar MacRae, the Glenmorangie company president and CEO. In a special chat, he's speaking with us about many things, including what are Scotland's Glenmorangie's expectations from the country, key trends shaping the single malt market in India, insights on consumer preferences and taste when it comes to whiskies and single malts, and how does the company look at the rise of Indian premium whiskies and single malt brands. Listen in. Caspar, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Shibani, thank you so much for having me.
I was reading somewhere, you said that in 5 to 10 years, India could be one of your top markets. What is the roadmap for that? How is that going to happen?
Well, I think the potential of India is huge. I mean, as I travel the world looking at different markets, you've got a middle class that's 900 million people here. You've got an average age of the demographic that's 29, and the growth at over 8% a year leads the world in terms of its economic growth. But it's not just the economic growth. You know, this week I've been so lucky to meet so many consumers of single malt whiskey, talk to them and share their stories about how they came into the category. And one of the things that really impressed me is how knowledgeable the consumer is here in India, how much they're into the category, how excited they are by the category, and how much they want to learn for the long term, which is fantastic for us because we are not the biggest player in single malt whiskey. We aren't the biggest manufacturer of single malt whiskey, but what we really try and do is create a very high quality product. So in any market where the consumer is looking to discern quality, is looking to understand what's better, it's a market I think that is suited to our brand.
Yeah, and you've spent like a couple of days in the country on this particular India visit of yours. Tell us more about the trends and how is Indian consumer drinking Glenmorangie?
Well, every time I come back, it's changed. I was here last 14 months ago, and even since then, everything's moved on. So 14 months ago, we were looking at cocktails. We were talking to consumers about what they were interested in. Now, more than ever, you know, when I first came 10 or 12 years ago, people would tell me that they were a Scotch guy or a single malt person, and that's what they drank, and that's all they drank. The biggest change now is what we're seeing, consumers increasingly are choosing the right category for the right occasion. So sometimes they know it's the right occasion for single malt, but sometimes they may be drinking gin or tequila, and it really depends on the moment and the mood of the occasion and what their friends are drinking that dictates their choice of consumption.
Caspar, India is one of the largest whiskey markets in the world. Having said that, how does Glenmorangie company look at the potential of the country when it comes to, you know, like growing your business?
Well, I mean, it's already our third biggest domestic market in the world. So as we look around the world, America and the UK are number 1 and 2, but increasingly and the fastest growing is India. So the last few years we've been growing double digits in India, but we think we're really only scratching the surface of the opportunity. So when I'm out traveling and speaking to consumers, their love, their passion for whiskey as a whole is really, really exciting. Single malt whiskey has traditionally been perceived quite rightly as the top of whiskey because of the quality and the way it's made. And the more and more I see consumers are looking to premiumize, they're looking to improve the quality of their experience, the more I think that single malt whiskey can benefit from that in the long term.
Distribution can be challenging in a country like ours with, you know, how vast India is. Also, you know, some of the regulatory issues like different taxes for different states can be really challenging for a company like yours. How are you addressing some of these issues in the country?
Well, fortunately, we have a really good team here with Mirror Tennessee India. So they are very familiar and experts with the market. And of course, we always respect local regulations, so we'll work around whatever local regulations are in place. Where the consumer's demand is there, it's up to us to try and find a way of accessing that demand. One of the best ones, of course, is when I'm traveling through Delhi or Mumbai, I see your travel retail offerings, and the travel retail environment in India is one of the best in the world. The opportunities to try, to see and experience whiskies at scale, so the repertoire that we see represented in travel retail is excellent, and that gives us a really great shop window for the Indian consumer.
And then how does the regulatory environment impact some of your strategies, especially the marketing and advertising strategies, considering that India is one of the countries where you can't advertise alcohol or alcohol beverages openly?
Yes, there are markets around the world. India is not the only one, which we traditionally call a dark market, which is not allowing above-the-line advertising, and I think we need to respect that and always be respectful of local rules and regulations. That said, I think one of our biggest winning ways of winning with Glenmorangie in particular is to get liquid to lips. So I know that the team have been doing a fantastic job of retail presence, but also increasingly liquid to lips programs. We had a great program called the Technicolor Table, which I think you'll see more of. It was in the Heliconia in Goa, and that's a great way of introducing great whiskies with fantastic food to allow people to try different aspects of Glenmorangie.
Caspar, how does Glenmorangie look at this emergence of Indian whiskey and single malt brands over the past couple of years?
And I think that's generally a good thing. It's a good thing for the industry and it's a good thing for consumers. Obviously, consumers are getting more choice and more people are being attracted into the category by the vibrancy. I think there's room for all, which is very good. We welcome that increased competition and the good quality of Indian single malt whiskies, but overall, I hope that it can bring more and more consumers into the single malt.
Do you think it will bring in more and more consumers to come and drink single malt?
I mean, we were earlier this week, we were in a fantastic bar in Delhi called Whiskey Samba. Fantastic place, but when I walked in there and the back bar selection of Scottish single malts, Japanese single malts, Irish single malts and Indian single malts was one of the best that you'll see in the world. And that brought so many people in there, curious to explore, curious to find. The more people we can get in excited by this category, the more we can offer innovation and diverse tastes, the more people will come to single malt in the end.
Okay, going forward, what are Glenmorangie's aspirations for the country? Yes, we spoke about being the top market in the next 5 to 10 years. But apart from that, what are your aspirations? What are your ambitions for India? What do you expect in terms of the goals that you have for the country?
I think there's two. I mean, obviously there's a commercial goal, and we really enjoy growing at double digits, and I think that's something we really want to see.
What is that commercial goal?
Well, the commercial goal would be set over the next 3 or 5 years. I'm not allowed to comment on numbers exactly, but I think we're only just scratching the surface at the moment. So I think there is an opportunity to really expand the scale and distribution of our brand around the country. And at the moment, we're only a fraction of what we could be. So there's a big headroom for growth there. But beyond that, as we look around the world, I think what's really exciting about India today is its opportunity to be a cultural hub for the world. So India is already very important in its culture, whether you're talking about its movies, its food, its music, and how that expands around the world. For us, it's beyond just being successful in India. We want to be successful in a market that will be dictating trends and fashions globally for the century ahead, and that's why we're really excited.
And you took charge as a CEO just last year. What has been your mandate over the past 1 year? What has the past 1 year been like for you, and how did the role of a marketer equip you for the top spot?
So several questions there, and I'll dive into them. I think being a marketer is one of the best possible transition roles into CEO. And that's because really, in the end, it comes down to the consumer. What does the consumer want? What do they need? And what's motivating them? And that's why marketers tend to have that focus on the consumer orientation and servicing the market. And that's a great standing for that. Of course, there are other pressures, and so now as I've moved up from marketing into managing both the distilleries and the teams, I've had to really learn my stuff about how whiskey is made, how it's created, how it's distributed, all the way through the value chain. I think, though, as a platform for moving forward, I would hope that the combination of real consumer understanding and supporting Bill Lumsden and the whiskey creation team, because beyond everything, single malt whiskey is still in the mind of the creator. Bill Lumsden and that whiskey creation team very much see themselves as artists, and I support that approach. So we're trying to marry what the consumer wants with the creativity and the vision of those people back home in Scotland who are trying to create the best single malt whiskey in the world.
Yeah, so what does the consumer want, and how are you matching it with the needs?
Well, the consumer is increasingly looking for new tastes and new experiences. We have 2 brands in our portfolio, and although that's quite a small portfolio in single malt whiskey, it's a very diverse portfolio. If I can put you into the mind of Bill Lumsden for a second, this is the whiskey creator. He has two brands, and when he makes Glenmorangie, he's trying to make a single malt whiskey that everyone will find delicious. He's always trying to find new ways of being appealing to all and elevating the taste experience. But then he has a different side to his personality. And when he's thinking about Ardbeg, which is an Islay single malt whiskey, it's the most peated whiskey in the world, he's setting out to make it so some people will hate it. He's trying to create a polarizing flavor experience that's really the ultimate experience of an Islay single malt whiskey. And I think that's exactly what consumers are looking for. As we talked to people from the Dram Club and other consumers around India, the number of people who were talking to me about the diversity of their collection, everything from really smoky single malts to very heavily sherry casks to our bourbon style for Glenmorangie, they were appreciating everything, and we try and meet as many of those needs as possible.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for this insightful chat.
Thank you so much.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we are speaking with Amresh Godbole, CEO, Digital Technology Business Publicis Group India, on what advancements in generative AI is he most excited about for the future of advertising. What trends should advertisers watch for to stay ahead in the AI-driven advertising space, and much more.